What's good, everybody? Hope you are having a wonderful week so far. Podcast time. Disciples 2015 or 2014 came out with Catwalk. 2015, How Deep Is Your Love? One of the biggest records in electronic history. 1.2 billion streams. Following on My Mind, 115 million streams. These boys have done what most people dream of doing, and they decided to take a break. 3 years later, they are back, and they are back writing some insane music. I wanted to get them on the podcast. I've known them for a while, but never really sat down and had a proper conversation. But it was a great one. It's really interesting to see their process of taking a break, their process of releasing new music, and how they're looking at Disciples 2.0 as a project for them all. So, without further ado, Disciples. There we go. And we are live. Boys from Disciples, what is cooking?
Yes.
Come on, lads.
Duvall, I never actually knew your first name, and because I've only ever known you as Duvall. And I just Googled your first name and was like, oh, wow, did not know that.
Yeah, Nathan was the time when I was back in Catford and I used to run the streets. So I used to.
You didn't run any streets.
Making yourself out like some badass gangster.
Well, you know, if the shoe fits.
In his purple jumper. Yeah, running those streets.
My purple Primark jumper.
Yeah.
And his grand's throw on his sofa. Yeah. Like, Jesus. How's it going, lads?
Good, man. Good to be here. Good to, your podcast is sick, mate. Listen to it now and again when I've got the time. I absolutely love what you're doing. Thanks to you.
Thanks, man. Did you started one in COVID, didn't you?
I did one with Danny Howard. During COVID, which was sick.
I loved it. What happened?
It's a bit. Do you know what it is? There was just because obviously Danny's at Radio 1. There's a lot of like red tape, what we could do, what we couldn't do, and he's got to be careful. And you know, it was the start of something great. I think we'll probably go back to it at some point, but we really dove deep into a lot of people's careers, and it's kind of like what you do, really. And also, like, we did it at a time where we knew people were in town. So, you know, touring schedules are crazy. And we didn't want to do it over Zoom or anything. So we wanted to do it in the room. And then just the logistics of that was a bit crazy. But yeah, definitely there'll be a time where we come back to that for sure.
Yeah, it's the only reason why I've kind of stuck to being online. I want to do it in person, but the logistics of it all is just a nightmare. Even just to like get a weekly show out. And like be able to have enough people just to like say yes to do it is fucking hard work. So God knows what it takes to do like a weekly show in person, editing it, getting it out, and then it's a lot of work. But I think also I live in the bumfuck middle of nowhere, so like if I was in London, it would be way easier. Just because people are always there. But no, you should definitely do it. I really like that. Last time I saw you boys was in 360 Studios, and you're working on new music. The world hadn't heard from Disciples for a while. Took some time out. Any reasoning behind that?
Do you want the PG version or do you want the...
Nah, we want the real version.
You want that 18 plus.
18 plus version. We're just sick of each other, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just gonna be real. We're like, do you know what's so funny about us is like, whether we're on or not, we still hung around with each other, still at each other's houses, still really good friends, brothers if not. Actually, more so. But you know, when you're working together for so long, it was at that point 12, 13 years, and we were still working, hitting our heads against brick walls, and we just felt like we needed to kind of do our own thing for a minute and then come back stronger. Otherwise, it would break. Like the thing is, a lot of people run shit into the ground, and then you can't really come back from stuff. And I think we've kind of stopped at a right time where there was still love from the public, still love industry wise. Time to take a break. If we come back, will we receive the same kind of, love that we had before? And I think with this new single that we have, so we're kind of lucky in that respect.
Yeah. What's your other boys' thoughts on it? Gav, Luke?
Yeah, that was the PG version, to be fair.
I knew one of you would real talk. Come on, hit me with it.
He's a super polite lad, to be fair. No, you know what it was? It's just, I think with us, it's like we're like brothers. So after a while, if your brother says, "Oh, I'm going to go and do my own thing," and then, "Oh, I'm sick of this, I don't want to do this," it's like, go on then. I don't give a fuck. Go on then. Just do it. Just get it out of your system and do what you have to do. And it got to a point after 13, well, it's 13 years in total with Disciples, but after a while, we could see where the music industry was going, and we was in label situations where we was being told to keep up with what's fresh and what's new, and we didn't give a fuck about that. Like, we still don't. Like, we don't want to be in with the in crowd. We believe we are that. Do you know what I'm saying? And when we just stopped, it was actually a blessing, because by the time all the arguments and all of that shit happened, it was like, it's better to just stop right now anyway before we fucking ruin it. And now we've come back. The love straight away from being on Radio 1 and Capital and being on your podcast as well, and the first single release, just the feedback from it. It's like, it just shows that sometimes you just need to be away from each other and come back when the time's right. Do you know what I'm saying? But
I love that Luke said exactly what I said, but just added a few more F-bombs.
That's it. There's no F-bombs in the PG version.
You got to juice it up a little bit. I guess the thing for me is, like, I don't know if you listened to it, but I just listened to the Zane Lowe interview with Kings of Leon. And obviously Kings of Leon are brothers, right? And I don't know if you've seen it, but it's an amazing thing. And I think it's like, when you're in a relationship, when you're in a business partnership, when you're in something with a group of people, you're in such close proximities at all times, right? Like, you're going through life with them more so than your partners, right? Like, you're literally with them all day, every day. You talk all day, every day. At some point, something's going to break. I don't know anybody that it hasn't, if you know what I mean. Whether that's management deals, whether that's duos, trios, like, there's always something where it gets to a tipping point and you're like, we need to actually step away from all of this. But
100%.
I think the thing for me is more so is, like, during those 2-3 years you had off, what was the process between you guys of, like, how do you still keep that fire going? How do you still keep the relationship going? How do you still, like, work together and get to the point where you get to write music again and we're here having this conversation?
I think you just can't. I think when it gets to that point, you just have to let things be, and you can't force it. You can't really come up with a plan of how to kind of keep each other happy, or, like, keep the relationships tied together. You just have to let everything breathe and let everyone do what they need to do. And I think, luckily, what we had is that although we stopped, we still, like, for example, I think the first year that we didn't make music together, we still had, like, 2 or 3 shows of Calvin Harris that we did, like, in Ibiza and at Hampden Park in Glasgow. So we were still, like, seeing each other in an intense situation for 2 or 3 days. So that would kind of reignite the fire. And then, we'd be speaking about music. We kind of also remember, how much, musically intertwined we are and stuff. And I think having that every sort of 3 to 4 months or whatever just kept things in tow. And then once in a while we'd be like, oh, actually, shall we get into the studio? And I guess, like, we still went in once or twice over the few years, but it just took maybe a couple of years to get back in to, have some conversations with other people, like Calvin as well. He was sort of also, saying that we should get back into actually really go and put some time and effort into making a new batch of music again. But yeah, going back to your point, I think it's something that you can't force it. But luckily, yeah, we had those shows that kept the relationship alive.
What was the moment where you go for it, Luke?
No, go for it.
I guess for me, what was the moment when you were like, okay, now's the time? Like we've all gone through our personal issues. We've dealt with what's going on personally for us. We've dealt with what's going on as a trio. Like, at what point was that like, now's the time to get back to it?
When we looked at our bank balance.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that.
That's definitely one of the reasons why.
But then I guess like let's real talk about that. Okay, like obviously you've had extreme success over the last 10 years, right? How Deep Is Your Love came out 2015. You released Catwalk in 2014. Like, fucking hey, like a year after your first EP, Catwalk, you have How Deep Is Your Love, which is ridiculous, right? But, so
and even before that, we had They Don't Know as well. That was on FFRR.
Yeah.
As well.
They Don't Know. 2014. That wasn't it?
Yeah.
So like, you've coming into your career, you have They Don't Know did pretty well, and then How Deep Is Your Love just turns catastrophically, ridiculously on another planet large. The amount of pressure that brings on in a career, I can't even imagine. I've never had that, if you know what I mean. How was that pressure?
Yeah. It was a lot.
We've all got different answers. Like the pressure pissed me off, to be honest, because you end up making stupid decisions that you would not normally do. Like, to get to the How Deep Is Your Love level, we did not give a fuck what anyone thought.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you give a fuck what people are telling you. Like, maybe you should follow this up with another one. Maybe you should work with another big DJ. Maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do that. The fuck? What got us here was not thinking that way.
Yeah.
And the times that we did think that way, we've put out, I've loved all of our records, so don't get it twisted. Like, all of our records, for me, whether they banged or not, there's something in there. I'm just like, yeah, I would fucking love that. But you do get swayed by people's opinions once you've had a massive moment like that. And it's very, very hard because we are also sponges, all three of us. So we all listen to everyone. We'll listen to our peers. If you said something, we'd listen to it, be like, yo, maybe we should change that snare drum.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's very difficult to stay on your course while things are changing around you. So for me personally, it wasn't so much stress. It was more like, I'm just annoyed that I'm not doing what the fuck I want to do, which is what got us here. But the guys will have different opinions, probably.
It was. I think what happens at that point, because it was over the space of 1 year, going from literally zero to How Deep Is Your Love. I think what was tough is that the new situation you have around you, i.e. the music industry, record label, booking agent, all these people who you weren't even able to get in contact with maybe 2 years ago, all of a sudden they're like your biggest fans and stuff. I think the mistake that people can make is that because we were attached to the song How Deep Is Your Love, that we were then a global act.
Yeah.
And obviously we were still very much building. So the people I think around us might have been, trying to make the most of the situation by saying, follow it up with another collaboration like that, or go on a world tour and spend this money and do this and do that, when realistically, if you're looking at our actual careers and what we should have been doing to build that, you can't really take into play the colossal success of How Deep Is Your Love, because that's that's not enough. So I think that was what was tough, is that the pressure of people around us maybe pushing us to do things that maybe we didn't know if we should do or not. It took a little while to find our feet with that.
And you know what's nuts?
Luke, what's your thoughts?
You know what's nuts? Because this is why this group works, because I'm the complete opposite. I've always waited for that moment since I was young, like to be fucking massive and have a massive song, etc., etc. So it's like living in mayhem actually worked for me. Like the waking up at 7 a.m., you're getting a call, and you got to be here, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. It's when it's quiet for me, I get anxiety. I'm like, shit, what the fuck is going to happen next? What are we doing? Like, I I can understand that when you get to that level, people are going to be fake. I can understand the fake love. Like, oh yeah, come to dinner with us, or I'll get you on guest list, and then we'll do this and we'll do that. Yeah, that's cool. I know where you're coming from. It's part of the business. I understand that. You've had a big tune, and now you're popping. It's when it's like, oh shit, it's quiet now. It's got, what do we do next? What's our next move? And this and that. And the pressure was actually, again, that's why I said we work, because it worked for me. So in times where it's like someone needs to pick me up, someone's there to pick you up. Do you know what I'm saying? Or if it gets a bit too crazy, someone was there in the group to be like, yo, slow the fuck down. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't take all the fruits of the labor. Do you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, yeah, the pressure can be on, but sometimes in this industry, it's good to be busy, or it's good to have that dopamine hit. Do you know what I'm saying? That just keeps you going to the next stage, because sometimes when it's flat and you don't know what to do, you don't know what to make, you don't. There's people that were cool with you before and they wanted to be your best friend because you was fucking popping. For me, I get it. I understand it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's when it's on a low, you're like, "Bro, what's the next stage?" That's the hardest bit.
I think you're right. When you're the hot new thing, you can just ride it, keep riding it, right? But I think for me, the one thing that I struggle the most with is like, what's next, and knowing the kind of, okay, like I might be selling this amount of tickets this year, but like I've seen artists go from selling thousands of tickets to not, and in the space of like 2-3 years, right? And I think for me, that scares the shit out of me on literally a daily basis. Like, how you took a lot of time off for this in this industry. You really did. Like, especially the DJ world. I think it would be very different in like a band world, right? Like you can go, like bands can release an album and not release music for 3-4 years if the album was really popping, right? DJs can't. Like, it's like you have to feed into that algorithm. You have to feed into, because like they're so new. There's like people chomping at your heels on a daily basis. So like going from all your success you've had over the years to taking time out, like how is that? Like, how are the conversations between you three of like, okay, we've got we have a foundation, but now we have to build it. Like the fans from beforehand probably aren't even raving now. The fans, like, how do we grow that into something that is a healthy and sustainable career for all three of you, but also give the fans what they want?
It's a great question. I don't think you can, to be honest. I think you. The thing is about us three as well. Like, even if we weren't seeing eye to eye, musically, we were always on the same page.
Yeah.
Like, I could be beefing them at something for some other reason, but then getting into the studio, it's like, yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Like, that's what's never changed. So our musical tastes are different, but when they come together, it's just magic. So luckily, obviously, all of us are here because of the music we make, and everything else is an extension of. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So navigating this new 2.0 Disciples, at least we've now got the music that we want to show the world. It's how do we package that and how do we bring in new audiences? And I want to be real, we're still learning how to do that, to be honest. We got loads of ideas. Like Luke's come up with some incredible stuff. We can disclose it on this podcast. I'm happy to, if you want to, Luke. I'll let you talk about it. But yeah, we're going to push the brand forward to a point where people haven't seen it before. So it's almost like reinventing yourself. Is not only exciting for the fans, but it's also exciting for us as a three.
I think it's also introducing people to who you guys are, right? Because I think, let's be honest, talking about your previous records, a lot of people know the previous records, but do they necessarily know who's behind the records? I think the way streaming is right now, like I had a classic, my cousin's like a wedding DJ, right? And like he got like a request playlist from like a groom, and one of my records was like #1 on there, and he was like, you do realize that's my cousin? And he was like, I don't actually have a clue who made this record. I just listen.
I don't care.
Yeah. And it's just, I just listen to it every single day.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is that the way we listen to records now, the way streaming is, the way social media is, we don't actually necessarily know who the original artist is, but we know we like the music. So it's like, how do you connect the music to the artist and kind of building that into a brand? I think it's so important, and it's so hard. It's
super true. Have you seen that meme where there's a guy in a party and he's got a party hat on and everyone's dancing and he's like, I made this song, but no one knows. No one knows it was me. Literally, that's our day-to-day life. How Deep Is Your Love could be playing everywhere and no one has a clue. Like I could be in the gym and on my mind's on the TV and we're in the video and I'm on the treadmill and then it's like our face is slap bang on the screen, but no one still doesn't care. But also, that's house music though, because in the rap game, it's completely different because they want to know how many guns you banged, how much drugs you sold, and if you're really about what you say in your lyrics. Like that's the fans want to know that in that world, in the rap world. So they have to buy into the brand. Like you can't just be a sick MC and then make it. It never works. You really have to be about what you say. But in the house world, no one don't give a shit. Like you could literally have 10 aliases. If the song's good, it's good. But the good thing there with Disciples 2.0, that's what we're starting to do now, is show our personalities. And it's starting to work because we didn't give a fuck about TikTok and all these things. And then we done a random clip on TikTok now and it's got 30 million or something like that, something crazy in total, where I didn't lock my car and then I'm trying to lock it from the Ross Clark plane. But it's like you spend 10 years trying to make music and get 17 million on a song, and then you do something stupid and then everyone goes crazy. But that's digging into your personality. So if they want to have it, just have it at this point. Understand who we are as a freak.
I think that's and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is that like at the end of the day, we're in a business, and businesses, we have products, right? And products need to be sold. And I think that's the hard thing for us to all realize, is that we have to sell our music somehow. And kind of gone are the days where labels can do that for us. I think it's now we have all the power in our own hands. Yeah. Like you can literally pick up your phone and you've got free marketing. Like you can do a video that does 30 million views in a day, right? And that can then power your next single. Like labels can't do that. Labels don't have the power, but we do now. And I think now it gives the artist the power of that. But I think what the difference is back in the day, and even probably when How Deep came out, it wasn't necessarily about the personality of the artist. It was like, there was always like back then I remember there was so many DJs that were like masked or faceless, or like wouldn't talk about like who they actually were. It was like the DJ was kind of put on a pedestal where you didn't actually need to get to know them. Things have changed now where everyone wants to get to know you. Everyone wants to know, who am I going to watch tonight? Who is, like, what's the extension of their music life? And I think
and we've noticed that from shows.
It's definitely interesting.
We've noticed that from shows because now, because of what's going on in the world and people's money's tighter everywhere you go, it's like people are picking who they go and see. When we was younger, it was like, I'm going to 4 shows in a night because it's cheap and cheerful and I can go to see every DJ that I like. But now people are going online, checking people's DJ sets and being like, I've got 40 quid left, I've got 60 quid left, I'm going to go and see Fred again. There on the...
Yeah. Oh, lost you there, mate. Carry on. All I heard was Fred again. Yeah. It's too many people calling you, man. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If I stay, first single coming out of you boys kind of turning it around and releasing music again. I fucking love it. I was listening to it earlier. It's a fucking banger. Like I genuinely, I don't say this if lightly. I genuinely really like it, and I like the direction you're going.
Thank you, man.
Sorry, I had to. I've got paid. Your management's paid me. What was it like? How do you get to that sound? How do you get to that point as three of you, like getting in the studio and this isn't a record that like jumps out and goes, this is a commercial club record, right? It's a club record. And for me, it's like, I wasn't expecting it, if I'm honest. I really wasn't expecting it from you guys. And I'm happy that you're taking that direction.
Neither were we. I don't think we expected it either. It's kind of like, I think we just picked everything we haven't done before and did it. Let's go above 130 BPM.
Yeah.
Let's put some massive industrial techno kick in the drop. Let's not make the bass line the main thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like all those things are things that we normally stay away from. And I think not being together for 3 years and then coming back, we wanted to kind of flex our muscles a bit, stretch out, and pick things that we like but have never done. And just so happens that the one session we done with Delilah, that one came out. So yeah, I think it's again, but then we have like a whole body of work now, and the whole body of work does not sound so much like that record. It's an amalgamation of all three of our ideas. And I just think sometimes I sit with the guys and I was thinking, do we do too many different things? And then they're always like, no, it's still us. But it's never going to be just one thing because we're not one thing. Like Luke brings a different experience to Gavin, who brings a different experience to me. We are always going to come out with a great song that sounds different from the last. And our main thing is just trying to find the thread between all of it. So thank you for the kind words. And if I stay, we like it too.
How is that compromise? How does that compromise work with three of you in the room?
It fucking doesn't. Like we fight like cats and dogs.
I was hoping that, right? Because like as individuals, you're all passionate people, guys, right? Like we all are. And I think it's fine when there's two of you in a room. When there's three of you plus a vocalist, like there's fucking four of you. Like there's a lot of people to kind of please. And at what point is it where you step back and go, actually, no, I trust this person. Like, I don't necessarily love it, but I trust Gav, Luke, Duvall. Like, I trust the process. Do you ever get to that point, or is it still like cat and mouse?
What do you think, Gav?
I think the good thing with us is that although we all bring something different, like influence-wise to the table, we do all like the same type of music for disciples. So there isn't too much of an argument like, one of us wants to go techno, one of us wants to go and do, commercial pop music or, whatever. There isn't too much of an argument with that. I think what can be difficult is, everyone wants to bring their own idea to the table, and it's like knowing when to step back and say, okay, my idea wasn't good enough, or for this situation doesn't work, and still be like, let your ego go and just be happy enough. Like, because I trust in that person and I know he's good at that, let's put that down, you know, as if it was me. If it's for us three, it's the same thing, and then you move forward, you know. So to me, I think it's a process of dropping your ego back as a producer, to be able to kind of get things moving and get things done in the studio. But luckily, we do like the same type of music, and we also don't do loads and loads of different sessions with people. So the people that we do work with are a lot of the time handpicked by all of us to be like, oh, you know, we know that person can write and sing in a certain way, so we already know the direction of it, you know.
Yeah.
I think in the earlier stages there might have been a lot more pushing and pulling, like, you know, one person wants to do this, one person wants to do that. But I think over the years we've found a little bit of a we have found a little bit of a sound, although we do change genres and stuff. You could say genres quite a bit. I think we have got a bit of a thread, and that makes life a bit easier.
How does it work in the studio? When you guys are working on Disciples' music, like, is it literally you only work in the room together, or do you guys go separate ways and kind of work individually, or like, how does that work?
It's a mixture of all.
Yeah, the majority of the time we all work in the studio together, and Nathan's quite hands-on, especially in the last, like, in this new wave. Like, you know, he's very hands-on, and we kind of all throw ideas together in the studio. That's what we've found has worked. But then that can change. Like, Luke also, like, you know, writes a lot of music and ideas and comes up with formulas and stuff on his own, and brings those into the studio. And that's been very fruitful of recent as well. So
we definitely prefer to be together, innit? Definitely prefer to be together in the studio, even if it's starting from scratch. Do you know what it is as well? Like, I've noticed in the last... Actually, I've always done this, but now I'm noticing it. Like, I will be producing because I like to start from scratch, but then I will look at Gavin and Luke to see if I'm on the right direction. Because there's things... If I produce on my own, everything's in the bin. I'm out.
Yeah.
I get so emotionally attached to it. This is shit. It's gone in the bin. But sometimes I'll be looking over and, like, Gav will be like nodding his head or a little tilt or whatever it might be, and that kind of empowers me to keep going. I think without that, I don't think I would be that good, to be fair. Because I can, you know, I back my skills as a producer, but in terms of my ear, I definitely need, like, Gav and Luke there to kind of guide the situation as well. And they don't even have to say anything. It's just like mannerisms, isn't it? And I think being in the studio for 12 years, you don't have to say anything to say something.
Totally.
You know?
You can feel it in the air, right? You know when there's a vibe, and you know when there isn't.
Luke, I can only see your nose.
They look the same, mate. They look the same, so we don't know.
Fuck you know.
That's it. This podcast is turning weird.
I'll share it with you later. Yeah. I think that's the thing, is like I've always been a, like, lone studio person up until my album, and where it was a very collaborative thing. And I think for me, it was just always like going into the room with somebody, it was like, let's just have fun. Let's just see what comes out of it. And like I do always go in with an agenda, but it's whether or not that agenda gets achieved, or it can completely just like go on a different tangent that you didn't expect. Is there anyone out of the three of you that's like driving sessions always, like that's like the kind of person at the, like, exec producer almost at the back of the room going yes, no, no, yes? Because I think from talking to people that are in groups, there's always seems to be that one person that just like isn't necessarily hands-on, but like is the person that's going, yes, this will definitely work. Like, you have to keep that in.
Yeah, I definitely would say that's Gavin.
Yeah,
he's more. he's a bad boy producer, but he's less producing now physically and more executive producing. And I'll definitely take the reins. And then Luke as well, though, he will take the reins physically and do stuff. But also Luke's great with arrangement as well, so he'll sit back sometimes and just hear it from behind. And I like to work and I like to be busy in the studio. I always leave the studio exhausted because I've done like so much. But I would definitely say Gavin and then Luke in terms of executive producing for sure.
Are you the diva? Are you the diva?
That's the first time making Mark accept that. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. 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 How do you find that process of like working on top lines that you haven't written or you haven't been in the process of writing? I think it's something that I've kind of always just refused to do because I just struggle with it. I kind of like to be in the writing process. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mention some names. Mention some names.
Yeah, I think for me it was always just like when writing the records with a top liner, you can kind of see the vision of like where it's being written for and what it's being written for. Whereas like when I just get a top line, it just sometimes feels like a bit of a remix, and it's like, well, actually, this isn't. I don't actually own this record, not in a like an actual intellectual property, but it's like this isn't what I'd write about, and this isn't how I would have taken it. So I realize when like my manager sends me top lines, I'm like, maybe I should switch it up. But like, I'm always like, no, I'm just not going to listen.
And then you got like MK, who loves taking a top line and just doing a madness with it.
Yeah.
And he told me one time when we were working with him in LA, like he prefers that rather than actually like writing from scratch in a session.
Makes
because
sense.
He comes from that remix world where it's like, I mean, all of his remixes have just been better than the originals.
Yeah.
So he really knows what to do with a vocal. So I love that there are so many different styles of making a banger. Some people like grabbing vocals. Some people like, nah, I need to write it. Some people, do you know what I mean? That's quite cool.
Yeah, it's the whole point of it, right? I think everyone has to play to their strengths. It's also amazing when like somebody's like, this is all personal opinion, when like somebody's written a record and they're like hyping it so hard, and then you listen to it and you're like, I don't see it. I don't see what like, and I love that because we're allowed our own opinions, but I think that's what makes this industry amazing. That's what makes music amazing, is that it's just so personal. Like there's some records that are absolutely fucking massive and I just don't get it.
Same.
And there's also records that are absolutely tiny that should be massive, in my opinion, and they're not, right? How do you guys battle that when releasing records? Like when you really believe in a record of yourselves, but it doesn't turn into a success, if that makes sense, or of what you would class as a success? Or do you not even look at that?
We normally break up for 3 years.
It hasn't worked.
When that happens, we normally get a bit pissed off and be like, you know what, let's have a little break. It's tough, but we had a meeting yesterday actually, which is where with like an exec of a record label. I won't say who, but he was dropping quite a lot of game on us, and what he was saying is that like nowadays more than ever, you just can't tell what tune's going to connect or not. No. It's just so difficult because, like what you were saying before, the record labels don't have the power that they had before to say, all right, cool, we're going to sign this, we're going to put it in these people's hands, we're going to, make Annie Mac make your hottest record, we're going to, get, because that person's involved, that radio plug is going to get Capital involved or whatever. It's very, very difficult now because it's kind of like, putting it out, working as hard as you can and kind of seeing what connects. So you don't know, but it is what's the word? Not demeaning. It can be deflating.
Yeah.
When you've worked hard on a song and you think it's going to do well, and like you're kind of putting everything into it, and then you start to see it drop off a little bit, or it doesn't connect as much as as you think that it could have done or should do, and then you think, is it this person's fault or that person's fault?
But you know what though, Gav? Now I feel like all three of us are like, because we've been through so much of that, now it's like, do we love it? Yes, it would be nice if it banged in terms of like went global, but if it doesn't, we still love it. And you know what I mean? Whereas before we were watching metrics, we were thinking, if this doesn't do this, then we're going to have to think of this. And that's an exhausting place to be. And I remember being like that for a few years during Disciples. Now I feel like, 6-7 records that we made this year, the one we released, we still love it. Could it have gone more? And can it go more? Yeah. Would we love it to go more? Fuck yeah.
Of course.
But if it kind of plateaus and doesn't, I still love it. And then we're on to the next. And I never really had that maturity in thinking about our music before. I used to think, no, we've got to get the next one has to be. And that was the most tiring, exhausting mental space to be in, So I think all three of us, we want records to bang. But if they do their thing, they do their thing because we loved it when we made it. We loved it when we released it. And I think that's got to be enough now.
I agree. It's really hard to get to that point, though. It's really hard to get to that process. I don't think I'm there. If I'm truly honest, I'm not there yet, right?
If you think of it, though, that it's out of your hands, that bit, then you have to be okay with it. You have to learn to be like, yeah, you know what? This is the part I don't have control over. I have control over everything. I have the control over the sound, the quality, the song. You have control over everything like that. And if ever that is a problem when you release it and think, oh, shit, I should have tightened that kick, then that's on you, bro.
Yeah.
But everything else is up to the world, is up to God, it's up to the people, So I don't think
I guess the thing for me though is we're talking purely business on this side of the front right now. Right. But like, just what I'm going to say is like, in what other world does it get to a point where if the product is really fucking good, like, and it doesn't succeed, I just don't believe that's real business.
Yeah, we do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly, right?
We're nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luke said as well, like years ago, it's like you don't choose music, music chooses you.
Yeah.
And I think that's true because there is nothing I can say or do to Gavin and Luke individually or us three as a band that will stop us from doing what we do. But there are talents that I've worked with in the last 5 years who are far more talented than us. I can see it in their eye. They don't have it. They don't have that determination, that grit, that I'll take those 1,000 no's to get to that one yes. I'm going to do that because there's nothing you can do to stop me from. A lot of these kids don't have that, and that's what worries me because this is a long game and it's a hard one, and you're doing 100 things. Huh? Yeah, yeah. Mm, mm,
Mm.
yep.
It's a tough one. I think I was talking to a mate and who's like a massive like country music fan, and we were talking about Sturgill Simpson. I don't know if you're aware of who he is, but he's been in the country game forever, and he just releases albums all the time. Releases albums, and he's extremely successful. But I was like, it's kind of like what we do. We just keep going. And my mate turned around and was like, you can never lose if you quit, if you don't quit.
Mm,
And I think that is the facts of it. And it really hit home when he said that. And it's like the fact that he's right. If you don't quit, if you don't give up, you're never going to lose. Like, because it's just an ongoing game, right?
yeah.
And like, look at how much has changed in the music industry since your first EP, right? 10 years. Like, look how much has changed. Look at how we look. It's changed, right?
Yeah.
So like, but you're still here and you're still releasing music. And I think at a very high level, and there's not many artists that are releasing records for 10 years. Bear in mind there's been a break, but at the level of what you boys are doing. And I think what's really exciting is to go, okay, 10 years is down. What's the next 10 years? Right. And how do you build that, and how do you kind of grow that into something that's to the level of where you want to be and what makes you boys happy? I guess when you sit down as a three, as with your team, with your management, and go, I don't know if this is how you work, but okay, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, what's the plan? The next 1 year, like, how do those conversations go?
It's a good question. Do you know what it is, Will? It's just I'd like in an ideal world, I'd love to do that, and I think
Yeah.
we in us three endeavor to do that with our team, it just fucking changes every 5 minutes. Like, to the point where I don't even think you can plan. Like, we've got records. Like, for the first time in our career, we're sitting on more than 3 or 4 records. We never had that before. We had They Don't Know, had Nothing After, did How Deep, and then it came out. And then we had Nothing After.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah, it's not
so mad.
Well. Just constantly like chasing our tails, and we were in the thick of it. And then, fuck, what we done do? Luckily, we created On My Mind. Bang, another one. Great. What do we do now? That was our life for a very long time, and none of that was planned. And then we kind of thought, well, we don't have music to plan, so cool, right? This time round, almost an album worth of music, still struggling to plan. Like,
it's weird. I think, in my opinion, I love goals. I'm an absolute sucker for goals. Like, every year I go on my notes and I write career goals and write 10 career goals, and then I put life goals and write life, like 5 or 6 life goals. And then I send them to my manager and I'm like, let's fucking do this. And I don't always tick them off. Like, there's some that I don't, some that I do. But I think for me is in how my life works is sticking to the plan is like really helpful for me. But I love that you guys don't.
Do you know what it is though, Will? Yeah, go on. Go on. I was just going to say exactly the same thing.
Of course.
Yeah. Like, Luke might have 10 goals, but I might wake up on the wrong side of the bed and half his goals are fucked now.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
How does the touring happen now with you guys? Like, how does it? Boys, what does your fucking managers do? Come on, you got to get them to manage.
Mate, I don't know how we still got a manager. To be fair, we are wild. Yeah, the music is sick. But you know what? We went through stages of all 3 of us called, and we did a bit of a live stint, which was great profile wise, but hurt us financially. Then we went back to DJ and made sure it was all 3 of us. Then it was just 2 of us doing shows a lot of the time, and one of us didn't want to do it, and that one of us could change it for all of us.
Yeah.
And then now this stint, we're like, nah, do you know what? Let's not dilute the brand. Let's always try and make sure it's a 3. Let's do less shows, but the right shows where all 3 of us will want to go and do those shows and build in those markets. So it's been a whole roller coaster. And then there's the fucking money side of it, which people just think, oh yeah, you're out there doing this, doing that. Yeah, great. But they're forgetting that if the promoter's not paying for your flights or sometimes your hotels, that's coming off of your fee, bro.
Yeah.
And then you've got management to pay, and then you've got taxes, and then you've got
agents, everything. Yeah.
And then you got a wife, and then Do you know what I mean? Like it's never.
There's 50% straight away there with the wife.
Go on.
No, and I think this is the like interesting thing that I wanted to get in with you guys is like I've always toured alone my whole career pretty much. I've never had a tour manager. Occasionally Ryan, my manager, comes out with me, and occasionally I have like a videographer person with me, but generally they're local, so I'm not paying for flights or something like that. Whereas now I'm going into like a live tour with 7 of us on the road.
Wow.
Like, and yeah, you see money just get flushed down the toilet because you have to pay for people. And of course you do. Like, that's why we do it, right? Is for me is like to be able to allow people to earn money. But how does that work financially with you guys when there's always 3 of you? Like, it's a lot. Like, I know we can all joke about it, but let's be honest, you still have to run a business.
Yeah, we do. And to be candid, for the longest time, it didn't work. And then sometimes it really did, depending on how much we did and how much we got. See, when there's 3 of you, you have to have things in the deal where it's like pay for flights, pay for hotels at the very minimum.
Yeah.
1, you can kind of get a good fee, but then pay for your own flights. But 3, logistically, 3 sets of flights, and if you've got a connecting flight and if you've got another show the next day, you're talking 1.5 gone already before you've even seen anything from the fee. So that side of it, financially, we really have to be careful. So now we're thinking like what our plan is to really do our own things in terms of like our own nights, build that up as well as getting the music out. And there's a few other business ideas that we've got to really build up a brand. So when we go and tour again, fresh music, old clientele mixed with the new clientele, and we come with a brand that is worth something. Because we, I'm going to be real. We need big money when we tour.
Yeah.
And it's not even just for your own pocket. It's like, nah, bro, it's expensive.
Costs a lot.
Yeah, and that's without for us 3 without doing live. So when we were imagine when we were doing live, Will.
Yeah.
We did live for like a year.
Did you have a how big was the crew that you were?
It's about more than 12.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'd say.
Like, it's crazy because, and it's really interesting because I've not really had many people on the podcast that have done the live thing. And I'm in it. I'm in the dark depths of live setup, as you can see, like right behind me. Like it's
sick.
all getting set up and built now.
Amazing.
And this week we're booking flights and stuff, and then you like get hit with the bomb of like, oh, your night in New York, like you need 8 hotel rooms or 7 hotel rooms, and each hotel room's like $500, and you're like,
yeah,
fuck, like.
Yeah.
What's the benefits of live for you guys? Was there any?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah. 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 Mm. Do you reckon there's a Disciples 2.0 live again or not?
I would like to say yes, but much more different to how we did it. I think we overcooked it last time.
Yeah.
I would like to work out where, like what Luke's saying about not being comfortable, I'd like to work out a live moment where he is comfortable. Because I come from a live background, so I love live.
Yeah.
I also appreciate that it's not everyone's cup of tea. So if there's a way to do it where we can all feel comfortable and when the demand is high enough for it,
Yeah.
then yeah. But if not, I don't want to force it on everyone to do that.
Nice.
I think I think it makes it a lot easier when you've got a body of work that wants to be played live.
Yeah,
Of course.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about live as a business aspect of like our careers and stuff, but if you don't have music that's supposed to be played live, then it's never really gonna connect.
Mm.
Maybe if it's an album, you've got at least a few, and you can try and make it work because there's an album underneath it. At least there's some foundation behind it. But I think it makes a lot more sense when you have a body of work that wants to be that needs to be played live. And I think that's also where the longevity and stuff comes, where you're doing something like that. So, like with you, Will, you're saying you're doing live now. What's the are you doing like a live project, or is it an album project, or like what's your what
So
music is going along with that?
for me, is I don't know when this podcast is coming out. Let me just check. But I think
You can always chop it out.
Oh yeah, no, this is it's out. So I've got an album out now. As of this podcast, it will be out.
Okay.
Yeah, baby.
Nice.
And for me, it was like the people that I've always looked up to the most in this industry was Faithless, Chemical Brothers, and Moby. Right, those three are like the three like gods in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I kind of got into this industry by being a DJ, by producing club records. And over the last like few years, especially after COVID, I was like, I'm kind of not fed up, but I'm just a bit bored of writing club records. Like I'm kind of over that, like, let's write another banger, let's write another banger, let's write another banger. It just kind of wasn't fulfilling my need and my want for the music that I was writing. So I was like, okay, let's write an album. Let's do like a body of work. And don't get me wrong, some of the records are bangers and some of them aren't. But I think for me, it was like, how am I going to present this album to fans? Because it sounds differently to what I'm known for. But also, a lot of these records don't work in a club setting. Like, unless I went and did a bunch of edits to them. But realistically, if I went and did a bunch of edits, I'm then just going back to where I was previously. And I was like, how do I just keep pushing forward? And I was like, of course, Chemical Brothers always are live. Well, not always, but they do DJ sets. Faithless, always live. Moby goes in and out of doing live. And I was like, well, I've only got one option then. Is like, let's build a live show where I can play my big record or bigger records that were club records, but also make edits of them for the live show. So it's a little bit different. And also play the album in the form of in my opinion, of what the album should be performed, because they don't work in my DJ sets. And it's hilarious. Like, I'll play an album record and I will literally turn around to my team and go, watch this record not connect. And it doesn't connect in a club. Like it really doesn't. But I know in a live setting it's completely different. We all know live music, and I think for me is like the album records in a live set are the best records, if you know what I mean, because that's where real fans listen. So yeah, that was the reason why I'm well, by the time this podcast comes out, the live show we'd be in our last weekend. But like, yeah, it's shit scary.
Yeah,
it's really fucking scary.
That's when I think it's good though. Like when you're scared about doing something, lean in and do it. It's clear that that's the right path for you because you've kind of got the DJ thing on lock now. It's like how far do you go with that now? This is now a new, and obviously you're muso as well. Like you just mentioned Moby, you just mentioned these guys are musicians. They sample and play better than most people I've seen.
Yeah,
and they go deeper. So live makes sense for what you want to do, both creatively and also in the aspect of performance. Because your DJ sets, I've been lucky enough to see them. You've done it all. I personally think.
Yeah.
So where'd you go now? Live. And then you've always got the DJ thing. You can do both.
Yeah.
Sick.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. What's next for Disciples? By the time this comes out, it's probably, I don't fully know, but it might be December time.
Okay, cool.
It doesn't really matter. A new record's out. Sick. Complete opposites.
Yeah.
Love it. Cool. I agree. Sick. Sick, lads. Dick, game on. Game on. They're all yours. Game on. Lads, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm really happy to see you boys back. Like genuinely really happy. I love bumping into you boys at the studio. Keep doing your thing. You're always welcome to come on and chat. And let's try get in the studio as well. Let's write some music.
Awesome. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Big love, lads. Thanks so much. Keep it real, and I'll see you soon.
Bye, buddy. See you.
Peace. And that's a wrap. Big love to the boys for coming on. Please share, please like, please comment, please tell everyone about this podcast. I love you all. Big love. Keep safe.